The long 2-week wait after the Kentucky Derby is almost over as Preakness 150 is almost upon us. The best way to play it, you know the drill, is to play it through NYRA Bets. Head on over to NYRA Bets if you're not a member. Use the promo code MATCH200. We'll match the $200 of your initial deposit and get ready for Preakness 150. Well, Sovereignty's not coming back. We will not have a Triple Crown hopeful this year, but we do have the Derby favorite Journalism coming back, as well as Sandman out of the Derby, and there's really nothing you could say about Journalism that knocks him. He's a very, very good horse, and he got beaten by a horse in Sovereignty that ran just a slightly better race that day. They both got very good trips. Sovereignty was the last mover in a race where it probably was best to be the last mover, but there's nothing wrong with the performance of Journalism. He handled the wet track. Fortunately, it appears we'll probably have a dry track this weekend down in Maryland, and Journalism's just a good horse. There figures to be some pace in this race. He can put himself wherever he needs to be, and I don't see any reason to be taking a substantial shot against Journalism in this race. He is quite simply the horse to beat. A horse who's going to get a lot of attention in this race, and we'll talk with new shooters before we get to Sandman, is Clever Again, coming in for Steve Asmussen. Now, he's only raced 3 times. He ran last spring at Keeneland at 4.5 furlongs and ran pretty well, especially considering he's clearly a distance horse, and he was very good in his return races 10 and more months later down at Oaklawn Park, culminating with an easy victory over Gaming in the Hot Springs, where he got a 101 buyer. He's got speed, he's going to be forward, he's drawn well on the outside, he's lightly raced, he's got a terrific trainer. What's not to like? What I don't love is that I don't totally trust his races from Oaklawn, and I don't trust him to reproduce them here. I do think he's dangerous, and I'm not going to be shocked if he runs well in this race. But among the new shooters, I'm not really his biggest fan in this race. I actually prefer River Thames. River Thames is trying to follow a route that worked for cloud computing and early voting. Had the points for the Derby, decided to skip the Derby, and move on to the Preakness. Well, it's already a winning move, because with his running style, he had no chance in the Kentucky Derby, so they're already way ahead of the game, and he might be the second likeliest winner of this race. River Thames has speed, but he doesn't need the lead. He can put himself in position. The one thing he lacks are higher speed figures. He's going to have to run a lot faster if Journalism shows up with any semblance of his prior 3 races. And I'm just not confident that River Thames has that big move forward in him. I have nothing wrong with his races. I'm not sure, though, he gets better with a little bit more distance. But I do think there's an argument to be made that he's the second likeliest winner of this race. He's not my pick. He's not my second pick. But I still think he probably is the second most likely winner because I don't like Sandman. We'll take a look at Sandman winning the Arkansas Derby. I just don't love this race overall. He got a supersonic pace to close into, and he got that fast pace in the Derby, and he wasn't able to be effective. Now, you might say, well, he didn't run his race in a sloppy steel track, and that's relatively fair, but the reality is he got a very similar speed figure to the ones he got in almost all of his other recent races, except for the Arkansas Derby. But that 99 buyer speed figure is probably much more a function of a fast pace that set things up for him and the second place finisher Publisher, who is still a maiden. And I know Sandman has a big following. I don't see the super fast pace in this race, and I don't really see where he's as good, if not better, than quite a few players in this race. Sandman will not be on my tickets. Now, a horse some friends of mine like that I don't like is the number 1 goal-oriented. We'll take a look at him winning his second start at Churchill Downs in the slop. And nothing wrong with him. He's a very talented horse, and I won't be surprised if at some point, if he can continue on, he could turn out to be a player in this division. But I don't want him in his 3rd start, especially coming just 2 weeks after this race. Now, I don't have a problem with horses running back on short rest, but this is a very lightly raced horse that's basically being thrown to the wolves by his connections. And I'm not sure that's going to work out for him in this race. The problem that I have is his first race, he got a 91 buyer. He's a big horse with a distance pedigree. And the assumption was they'll stretch him out and he'll run a lot better. Well, he didn't. He ran the same 91 buyer. So I'm not sure he's a horse that really improved a great deal with distance. He's also a forwardly placed horse. And now the Timeform US pace projector that I have a lot of respect for has him as the controlling speed. I don't buy it. I don't think it's going to be the case in here. And that's going to lead me to talking about a horse that I think is very interesting in this race, and that's the 3 American Promise. Don't have any video footage for him, but the reality of him is if he can run back to his race in the Virginia Derby, he has a chance to win this race. And knowing Lucas, he's going to have a no-holds-barred ride, very similar to the one that last year got Seize the Gray the victory. And he's going. If Goal-Oriented wants to go with him, he's probably going too fast. And I think you'll see River Thames and more clever again, stalking him on the outside. Now, he may set an honest pace, but I think if you're going to upset journalism this race, you're not doing it from behind. You're doing it in front. So I think you could make an argument that American Promise is the kind of horse you want to back up a little bit in your multi-race bets with at a big price. I won't be shocked if he springs the upset wiring the field, though at the end of the day, not wholly sure that he's good enough. Let's take a look at some of the others in here. The number 9, Gosker. I like Gosker for Brennan Walsh. I think he's a very nice horse who's improving in just his 3 career starts. But the reality is he won this Lexington with an absolutely perfect trip. And while he may get a good trip in here, with that perfect trip, he got an 87 buyer, which doesn't even put him into position to be particularly competitive here. Now, as a lightly raced horse, trained by a very good trainer in Brennan Walsh, he could easily take a step forward and run a figure 5, maybe even 10 points higher. But even is that fast enough? I don't think so. I like him. He may get another good trip in here, but I just don't know if he's good enough. Let's take a look at the local horse, Pay Billy, who comes in off a win in the Federico Tessio in his last start. Kind of a neat horse, and he's been improving with all of his starts, but doesn't he have a similar problem to Gosker, only he's even a little bit slower? He just doesn't have speed figures that make him particularly competitive here. And there are too many better horses than him likely to be players in this race, and particularly journalism, who is proven to be a fast and consistent horse. So I always kind of like to look at the local horses. I just don't think Pay Billy is really good enough. And that's going to bring us to the last horse we'll talk about, and that's the number 4, Heart of Honor, whose last race was a second-place finish in the UAE Derby. Now, I give his connections, the same trainer, of course, who brought Toast of New York here a little over a decade ago, and he was a pretty good horse, as some may remember, almost pulling off a win, the Breeders' Cup Classic with Bayern and California Chrome. He's the horse between horses, and I give him a little credit for his gameness. But Admire Daytona, who was in this race, was absolutely terrible in the Kentucky Derby. And the reality of this race is, I think it was probably way too slow to compete here. Don't really love these horses coming from Dubai, though he has 2 more weeks, so it's been 7 weeks since his last start. But I just think the UA Derby was a pretty slow race, and I don't think those horses were good enough. I am not trying to beat journalism in this race. I believe he is very much the horse to beat. He's my top choice. My second choice, the number 3 American Promise. I don't feel like he's the second likeliest winner, necessarily a horse that I'm going to cement in an exacta, but he feels like the kind of upsetter that maybe he wires the field if you're looking for a horse at a big price. I've got the 6 River Thames in third. I think he's logical. He's got to get a little faster, and Clever again in fourth, who should be forwardly placed. But I don't believe that they're going to beat the Derby favorite journalism in Preakness 150. And the best way for you to play it? You know the drill. Head over to NYRA Bets. If you're not a member, use the promo code MATCH200 at NYRA.com, NYRABets.com, and sign up for NYRA Bets and play the Derby and all the other races everywhere, anytime. Good luck.